Tammy Slaton's Unforeseen Struggle, a journey beyond the scale. Hello viewers, welcome back to my channel. For 1000 sister latest news update, please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. When millions tuned in to watch 1000 sisters on TLC, they were captivated by the raw, emotional journey of Tammy and Amy Slaton as they fought to reclaim their health from the grips of severe obesity. The show chronicled their weight loss journeys, personal battles, and triumphs with unflinching honesty. While Amy's progress often took center stage, Tammy's path has been no less dramatic and in many ways, far more complex. Her recent milestone, undergoing life-changing skin removal surgery, should have marked a moment of pure victory. Instead, it unveiled an unforeseen emotional and psychological struggle that Tammy hadn't anticipated. In the aftermath of her transformation, she faced a quiet, internal battle that no scale or surgery could measure, the challenge of rediscovering her identity beyond weight. For years, Tammy Slaton's life revolved around her size. Her weight, which at its peak exceeded 700 pounds, dictated her movements, her relationships, and her self-worth. Every decision, from what clothes to wear to whether to leave the house, was filtered through the lens of her physical limitations. Her identity became intertwined with her illness. Being the heavier sister wasn't just a fact, it was a role she had inhabited for so long that imagining life outside of it felt like stepping into another world. When Tammy finally committed to bariatric surgery and began her weight loss journey, the initial goal was simple: survive. Lose enough weight to walk independently, to escape the confines of her home, to see her daughter grow up without fear of not being there. The process was grueling, marked by setbacks, emotional breakdowns, and moments of profound loneliness. But slowly, steadily, the numbers on the scale began to fall. She lost hundreds of pounds. She gained mobility. She celebrated small victories, walking to the mailbox, fitting into a standard airplane seat, dancing at a family wedding. Then came the next phase: reconstructive surgery. After shedding over 400 pounds, Tammy was left with massive amounts of excess skin, a common but often overlooked consequence of extreme weight loss. The skin, once stretched to accommodate her body's size, now hung loosely, causing discomfort, hygiene issues, and chronic pain. Doctors recommended body contouring surgery, a procedure that would remove the excess skin and help her body better align with her new, healthier weight. On the surface, the surgery was a success. Tammy emerged with a leaner, more mobile frame. Her photos showed a woman transformed, not just physically, but in spirit. Fans celebrated. Social media lit up with praise. "You look amazing, so inspiring, you've done it." The world saw a triumphant conclusion. But for Tammy, something felt off. In the weeks that followed, she began to confront an unexpected truth. Losing the weight and the skin hadn't erased the emotional weight she still carried. In fact, in some ways, it had become heavier. "I thought once I lost the weight, once I had the surgery, I'd finally feel free," Tammy confessed in a candid interview months later. "But instead, I felt untethered. Like I didn't know who I was anymore." This revelation shocked her. She had spent over a decade defined by her size, first as someone struggling with obesity, then as someone fighting to overcome it. Her entire public persona, her role on the show, even her relationships were shaped by that narrative. Now, with the weight gone and the physical markers of her struggle removed, she was faced with a daunting question: who am I without this? It wasn't just about appearance. It was about identity. For so long, Tammy had equated her worth with her progress, the pounds lost, the milestones achieved. But now that those external validations were behind her, she was left with the quiet, persistent voice of self-doubt. Without the daily battle against food, cravings, and immobility, she felt a void. The structure of her life centered around weight loss had collapsed, and she wasn't sure how to rebuild. "I kept waiting for the happiness to kick in," she said. "But it didn't. I looked in the mirror and saw someone new, but I didn't feel like her. I felt like an imposter." This emotional dissonance is more common than many realize. Psychologists who work with patients after massive weight loss often refer to it as post-transformation identity crisis. The physical transformation is only one part of the journey. The psychological integration of that change can take years. Patients report feeling disconnected from their bodies, struggling with intimacy, or experiencing anxiety about being seen differently, sometimes even fear of being found out as no longer the person they once were. For Tammy, the crisis was compounded by the public nature of her journey. 1,000-Pound Sisters wasn't just a reality show, it was a cultural phenomenon. Millions had watched her cry, eat in secret, fight with her sister, and celebrate small victories. Her pain was televised. Her progress was scrutinized. And now, as she stood on the other side, she felt the pressure to perform happiness, to be the success story her fans expected. "I didn't want to disappoint people," she admitted. "I didn't want to say, hey, I lost all this weight, and I'm still not okay." It felt like admitting failure. But the truth was, she wasn't failing. She was evolving. The turning point came during a therapy session, months after her surgery. Her therapist asked a simple question. If you weren't defined by your weight past or present, who would you want to be? Tammy paused. She had never considered that. For so long, her goals had been reactive: lose weight, avoid illness, survive. No one had ever asked her what she truly wanted, not as a patient, not as a TV personality, but as a woman, a mother, a human being. Tears filled her eyes as she began to speak. She talked about wanting to travel, to reconnect with old friends, to pursue creative hobbies she'd abandoned decades ago. She wanted to date again, not as someone fixed, but as someone whole. She wanted to be seen for her humor, her kindness, her resilience, not just her size. That conversation marked the beginning of a new chapter. Tammy began to shift her focus from external validation to internal growth. She started journaling, exploring mindfulness, and setting goals unrelated to her body. She reconnected with her daughter, whom she had distanced herself from during her lowest years. She even began volunteering at a local support group for people struggling with obesity, not as a celebrity, but as someone who understood their pain. It was healing to help others, she said, because in their stories I saw pieces of mine. And I realized my journey wasn't just about me. It was about showing people that change is possible even when it's messy. Still, the road hasn't been easy. There are days when the old habits creep back, not with food, but with self-criticism. Days when she looks in the mirror. Milestones, birthday parties, school plays, family trips, because she couldn't physically keep up. She looked in the mirror and saw not just a reflection of her body, but a reflection of years of pain, fear, and avoidance. And one day, while struggling to tie her shoes, she broke down in tears. It wasn't the act itself that overwhelmed her, it was the symbolism. She couldn't even perform a basic task without pain and effort. That was the moment she knew she had to try. The surgery was a success, but recovery was far from easy. The physical pain was intense. Navigating the post-op phase required immense patience, discipline, and support. She had to relearn how to eat, how to move, how to listen to her body in a way she never had before. But the emotional journey was even more complex. And the weeks and months that followed, Tammy began to shed more than just pounds. She shed old beliefs about herself. She began to see that her worth had never been tied to her size. The realization didn't come in a flash of enlightenment. It came slowly, in quiet moments of introspection. One morning, as she stood in front of the mirror and noticed she could see her feet without bending down, she didn't just feel relief, she felt a flicker of pride. Not because she was smaller, but because she had survived. She had faced one of the most difficult decisions of her life and followed through. That moment sparked something in her, the understanding that she was stronger than she had ever given herself credit for. Another realization came when she started receiving messages from fans. People wrote to her, sharing how her journey had inspired them to seek help for their own struggles, whether with weight, mental health, or addiction. At first, Tammy didn't see herself as a role model. "I'm just trying to survive," she would say. But over time, she began to understand that her vulnerability was her strength. By being open about her pain, her setbacks, and her progress, she was giving others permission to do the same. "I used to think I had to be perfect to be worthy," Tammy reflected in a heartfelt social media post months after her surgery. But the truth is, I was worthy all along, even at my heaviest, even at my lowest. Healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about coming home to the person you've always been underneath it all. This realization that self-worth is inherent, not earned, was perhaps the most transformative part of her journey. For so long, Tammy had tied her value to external things: her size, her appearance, her ability to please others. She had believed that if she could just lose the weight, everything would fall into place. But the surgery taught her that the real work wasn't on the outside, it was within. She began therapy, something she had avoided for years out of fear and shame. In those sessions, she unpacked childhood trauma, grief, and the deep-seated belief that she wasn't enough. She learned that food had never been the problem, it was the symptom of a much deeper emotional void. And while the surgery helped her change her relationship with food, it was therapy that helped her change her relationship with herself. "I used to eat to numb the pain," she said in a candid interview. "But now I'm learning to feel it. And that's harder, honestly. But it's also freeing. Because when you stop running from your pain, you start making room for joy." As Tammy continued to heal, both physically and emotionally, she began to explore parts of herself that had been buried for years. She reconnected with old hobbies: drawing, writing, listening to music. She started setting boundaries, something that had always been difficult for her. She learned to say no, not just to food, but to people, situations, and expectations that no longer served her. She also began to redefine what success meant to her. It wasn't just about the number on the scale. It was about being able to walk without pain. It was about laughing without shortness of breath. It was about showing up for her family, for her fans, and for herself. And perhaps most importantly, it was about self-compassion. "I used to be so hard on myself," Tammy admitted. "Every setback felt like a failure. But now I see that healing isn't linear. There are good days and bad days. There are moments when I want to give up. But I've learned to treat myself with kindness. I talk to myself like I would talk to a friend. And that's made all the difference." Of course, the journey hasn't been without challenges. There have been setbacks, moments of doubt, emotional relapses, and the constant pressure of living in the public eye. As a reality TV star, Tammy's progress is scrutinized by millions. Every pound lost or gained is analyzed, commented on, and sometimes criticized. Social media can be a minefield of unsolicited advice and judgment. But Tammy has learned to shield herself from the noise. She's become more selective about what she shares and who she allows into her healing process. She's also become an advocate for body positivity, not in the sense of glorifying illness, but in honoring the complexity of every person's journey. "People think body positivity means you have to love your body at every stage," she explained. "But for me, it's about respecting it. It's about listening to it. It's about treating it with care, even when you don't love how it looks. And it's about understanding that health looks different for everyone." One of the most profound realizations Tammy had after her surgery was that she didn't need to be fixed. She wasn't broken. She wasn't a project. She was a human being who had survived a lot and doesn't recognize herself. Days when the weight of expectation from fans, from family, from herself feels overwhelming, but Tammy is learning to be gentle with herself. She's come to understand that healing isn't linear, that transformation isn't a destination, but a continuous process. And that true freedom isn't found in a number on a scale, but in the ability to live authentically. One of the most profound realizations Tammy has had is that her worth was never tied to her size, neither at 700 pounds nor at 250. It was always there, buried beneath layers of shame, trauma, and societal judgment. Uncovering it has been the hardest part of her journey, not because it wasn't there, but because she had to learn how to see it. "I spent so many years hating my body," she reflected. "But now I'm learning to thank it for carrying me through, for surviving, for giving me a second chance." Tammy's story is a powerful reminder that weight loss, while life-saving, is only one piece of a much larger puzzle. The real work, the emotional, psychological, and spiritual work, often begins after the cameras stop rolling. It's in the quiet moments, the first time you wear a swimsuit without shame, the first time you say, "I love myself," and almost believe it, the first time you realize you're not defined by your past. For fans of 1,000-pound sisters, Tammy's journey has always been about more than pounds. It's about resilience. It's about family. It's about the messy, beautiful process of becoming. And now, as she navigates this new phase of life, she's teaching an even deeper lesson, that healing doesn't end when the weight is gone. In many ways, it's just beginning. In a world that often celebrates quick fixes and dramatic transformations, Tammy's honesty is a breath of fresh air. She's not pretending to have it all figured out. She's not claiming to be cured. She's simply showing up flawed, vulnerable, and brave. And perhaps that's the most inspiring transformation of all. As Tammy continues to rebuild her life one day, one choice, one moment at a time, she's also redefining what success looks like. It's not perfection. It's not constant progress. It's showing up, even when you don't feel like it. It's asking for help. It's allowing yourself to be seen, not just as you were or as you are, but as you're becoming. "I don't have all the answers," she said with a soft smile. "But I'm finally okay with that. For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm not running away from myself. I'm walking toward her, and that, perhaps, is the most powerful step of all." Tammy Slaton's journey is far from over. She still faces challenges, physical, emotional, and relational. She still has bad days. She still grieves the years lost to illness and isolation. But she also has hope. And with that hope, she's building a life that isn't defined by her past, but illuminated by her courage. To those watching her story unfold, she offers this: if you're struggling, please know you're not alone. Healing isn't about being perfect. It's about being persistent. It's about showing up for yourself, even when it's hard. And it's okay if you don't have it all together. You don't have to. Just keep going. In a culture obsessed with appearance and instant results, Tammy's greatest gift may not be her weight loss, it's her vulnerability. Her willingness to say, "I'm not fixed, but I'm trying." Her courage to face the unseen struggles that come after the spotlight fades, and in doing so, she's not just changing her life. She's giving others permission to do the same. Tammy Slaton's unforeseen struggle wasn't the excess skin, it was the emptiness that followed its removal. But in that emptiness, she found space to grow, to heal, to become the woman she was always meant to be. And that, more than any surgery, is the real transformation. Tammy Slaton, on the realization she had after life-changing surgery for years, Tammy Slaton lived in a body that felt like a prison. Not because she didn't love herself, but because the physical weight she carried had become a constant companion, sometimes comforting, sometimes crushing. Her journey on 1,000-Pound Sisters, a TLC reality series that followed her and her sister Amy Slaton as they navigated health struggles, personal growth, and emotional healing, brought her story into millions of homes. But behind the cameras, behind the headlines, and beyond the public eye, Tammy faced a turning point that would alter the course of her life forever. Bariatric surgery. The decision to undergo weight loss surgery wasn't made lightly. It wasn't a sudden whim or a reaction to public scrutiny. It was the culmination of years of battling obesity, health complications, emotional trauma, and a deep yearning to reclaim her life. When Tammy finally underwent the life-changing procedure, it wasn't just her body that transformed. Her mind, her spirit, and her understanding of self-worth underwent a profound evolution. And in the quiet aftermath of recovery, as she began to confront the new reality of her changing body and shifting identity, Tammy experienced a powerful realization. Healing wasn't just about losing weight, it was about rediscovering who she was beneath the layers of pain, shame, and survival. Tammy had always been the bigger sister, both in size and in presence. Her warmth, humor, and fierce loyalty made her a beloved figure not only to her family, but also to fans who followed her journey. Yet, behind her vibrant personality was a woman who had endured more than most would ever know. She struggled with food as a coping mechanism from a young age, using it to soothe the wounds of loss, abandonment, and insecurity. Her mother's passing when Tammy was still a teenager left a void that she tried to fill with comfort and control, two things food could temporarily provide: As the years passed, her weight climbed steadily, and so did the health risks. She developed diabetes, faced mobility issues, and often found herself confined to her home, unable to participate in everyday activities. The world outside felt overwhelming, and staying in became easier, safer, even. But the isolation took a toll on her mental health. Depression, anxiety, and feelings of worthlessness crept in, and Tammy began to see herself not as a person with dreams and potential, but as a burden on her family, on the healthcare system, on herself. The idea of surgery had been discussed for years. Doctors recommended it. Her sister Amy urged her. But Tammy resisted. She feared the pain, the unknown, and most of all, the idea of having to face herself without the armor of her weight. What would she be without the size that had defined her for so long? Who would she become if she wasn't the big sister? These questions haunted her, making the decision feel more like a leap into darkness than a step toward healing. But then, something shifted. It wasn't a single moment, but a series of realizations that built like waves crashing against the shore. She watched her nieces grow up, and she realized she was missing. The future she is building, one healthy bite at a time, revealing her new smile, Tammy Slaton did more than show off dental work. She showed courage. She showed vulnerability. She showed hope, and in doing so, she gave millions a reason to smile too. Tammy Slaton, 37, shocks fans with unbelievable results after skin reduction and dental surgery's 30-plus photos of her amazing transformation. When fans first met Tammy Slaton on the hit TLC reality series 1,000 Pounds Sisters, they were immediately drawn to her raw honesty, vulnerability, and the immense struggles she faced due to her weight and health. Over the years, viewers watched as Tammy battled obesity, emotional trauma, and a tumultuous relationship with food. But in a stunning turn of events, the 37-year-old mother has stunned the world with her incredible transformation, one that goes far beyond the scale. In a series of candid photos and heartfelt social media posts, Tammy Slaton has revealed the unbelievable results of her recent skin reduction surgery and full dental reconstruction, a journey that marks a new chapter in her life of healing, self-love, and reclaiming her identity. Unlike many celebrity transformations that come with fanfare and media tours, Tammy's journey has been quiet, personal, and deeply emotional. There was no press release, no dramatic reveal on a talk show, just a simple, powerful truth. She did this for herself. And the results? Absolutely jaw-dropping. For years, Tammy Slaton's life was defined by her struggle with extreme weight gain. At her peak, she weighed over 700 pounds, confined to a wheelchair, battling depression, and facing life-threatening health complications. Her story, shared alongside her sister Amy Slaton Halterman on 1,000 Pounds Sisters, became a beacon of hope for millions who saw their own struggles reflected in hers. But while the show documented her weight loss journey, including bariatric surgery, lifestyle changes, and emotional therapy, what happened after the weight came off remained largely unseen. The aftermath of massive weight loss, as Tammy shed hundreds of pounds, she was left with excess skin sagging, uncomfortable, and at times painful. For many who undergo rapid or significant weight loss, this is an often overlooked consequence. The skin, stretched beyond its natural elasticity, doesn't simply shrink back. It hangs, restricts movement, causes rashes, infections, and can deeply impact self-esteem. "I didn't realize how much the skin was holding me back," Tammy shared in a recent Instagram post. "I thought once I lost the weight, I'd feel free. But I still felt trapped. Like I was carrying the past with me." That feeling led her to make a life-changing decision: undergo extensive body contouring surgery, also known as skin reduction or body lift surgery, to remove the excess skin and reshape her body. Tammy's skin reduction journey was not taken lightly. It involved months of consultations, medical evaluations, and psychological preparation. Her surgical plan included a full lower body lift, arm lifts, thigh lifts, and abdominal reconstruction, a series of procedures designed to tighten and smooth her silhouette. These surgeries are major, often requiring multiple stages and long recovery periods. For someone with a history of obesity-related health issues, The risks are significant. But Tammy was determined. I've spent most of my life hiding in oversized clothes, behind my hair, in the shadows of my sister's spotlight, she wrote. This wasn't about looking like someone else. It was about finally seeing me when I look in the mirror. The surgeries took place over several months, with Tammy undergoing the first stage in early 2023 and completing the final phase in early 2024. Recovery was grueling weeks of limited mobility, intense pain, and emotional ups and downs. But through it all, she documented her journey with raw honesty on social media. Fans were shocked and inspired by the photos she began sharing. Gone were the layers of loose skin. In their place, a toned, sculpted frame that reflected years of hard work and perseverance. One photo shows Tammy standing in front of a full-length mirror, wearing a simple black dress, her arms raised slightly to show off her newly contoured arms. Another captures her from behind, revealing a smooth back and waistline, a sight she said she hadn't seen in over 2 decades. I cried the first time I saw my back, she admitted. I didn't even know what my back looked like under all that skin. To see it smooth, strong, it felt like meeting myself for the first time. While the skin reduction surgeries were transformative physically, another major change has captured the hearts of fans. Tammy's stunning dental transformation. For years, Tammy struggled with severe dental issues, a consequence of poor nutrition, limited access to care, and the effects of sugary foods during her heaviest years. Her teeth were decayed, discolored, and in some cases missing. She often covered her mouth when she laughed or spoke. I was embarrassed to smile, she said. I'd hide it in photos. I didn't want people to see. It made me feel broken. In late 2023, Tammy underwent a complete dental reconstruction. This included extractions, implants, bone grafting, and the placement of a full set of custom porcelain veneers. The process took nearly 6 months and required multiple specialists, oral surgeons, periodontists, and cosmetic dentists. The result? A radiant, healthy smile that has become a symbol of her rebirth. Photos of Tammy post-dental work show a woman beaming with confidence. In one image, she stands outdoors, sunlight hitting her face as she laughs, mouth wide open, teeth gleaming. It's a moment fans say they'll never forget. I used to think a smile was just teeth, she wrote. But it's so much more. It's freedom. It's joy. It's saying, I'm here. I'm alive. I'm proud. Tammy has shared over 30 photos documenting her transformation, not just the final results, but the journey itself. The collection